So I guess we can begin. So thank you everyone for joining us today. So just for a kickoff, I would start with an introduction. So I'm Shani. I'm the AWS commercial lead at DoiT International here in the US. It means that I look after AWS customers from the business perspective and also work very closely with Amazon in that region and the Amazon teams to help their customers getting a technology advantage in their own market. Together with me here, please meet Artyom, a senior solutions architect at DoiT, a very good friend of mine, and also a very desirable resource for AWS customers. Together with Artyom, I'm very thrilled to introduce our special guest, Jibril, a senior solutions architect and ed specialist, which is also one of the greatest SMEs in AWS, and he will be kicking off the first part of our webinar shortly. As for our agenda today, our goal is for you to understand better both the AWS Edge services and the building blocks and the driving force behind why customers choose CloudFront to improve performance and security. Additionally, we will talk about the AWS Edge functions to implement the most common use cases, including multi-origin selection and configuration, header manipulation, image management, and URL rewrites and redirects. Follow along as we perform a live demo using Amazon CloudFront for, I would say, complicated multi-region routing and acceleration of your applications globally. Be sure to come with your questions and submit them throughout the webinar, allowing them to be answered in the Q&A session with Artyom and Jibril by the end. Our solutions architect to close, that we actually were closer to the end of the event. You have the chat box right in below, so feel free to submit them throughout the entire presentation. So honestly, as the goal is for no one to reinvent the wheel. After all, AWS has partnered with DoiT International, a premier AWS partner, to provide an additional layer of AWS consultancy and support in an extreme SLA of less than 30 minutes to accelerate their growth, focus on the innovation of the customers by minimizing their time invested in research, and also semi-monitor both capital and resources. So this initiative is fully sponsored by AWS and provided to customers at zero cost and on demand, and exclusively offered to high potential growing customers of AWS with strong engineering team and engineering focus and self-sufficient team. This program provides an additional layer of AWS support on top of the company's direct relationship with Amazon. In other words, our mutual goal is really expand your knowledge on the AWS platform by learning how to deliver insights to your business faster with AWS without, again, reinventing the wheel. The AWS support could be faster. The AWS documentation is not always the easiest read through. You find yourself investing time in optimizing instead of innovation and on what really brings you revenue as a company. This is what we're here for. So that's the entire intention behind this program. This program has started in North America region about a year ago. Well, in the past 10 years, it was actually already served more than 1,000 customers around 70 countries globally. When we get to the next slide, I'll also include my email. And more than happy, sorry, when we get to the last slide, I'm more than happy to include my email address and open a discussion for specific use cases. So, and without further ado, I'm happy to invite our first presenter, Jibril, an AWS solutions architect and ed specialist, to take the lead on the first part of the webinar today. And to everyone, we're really looking forward to reading your questions, so please keep them coming before our Q&A session. By the end, Jibril, the stage is yours.
Cool. Thank you so much, Shani. My name is Jibril Touzi. I'm a senior ed specialist solution architect with AWS. I help our customers innovate using our AWS serverless services and edge services. Before we dive deep on AWS CloudFront, let's start by talking about AWS Global Network, as it will help to better understand the service. AWS has over 238 locations, strategically placed and serving content very close to viewer locations where it matters. As of today, we have over 218 POPs in 90 cities across 47 countries and 13 regional edge caches. I will elaborate a bit on this a bit later in the presentation. This large global network helps improve performance and availability of your content delivery. It also helps protect against DDoS attacks by dispersing the traffic across each of these edge locations and shielding your application's origins. CloudFront locations is built with multiple internet transit connections and AWS backbone. This means we have massive capacity to absorb the traffic and continue serve your legitimate traffic. AWS backbone is built on a global, fully redundant, parallel 100 gig of fiber that is linked via cables across all oceans and seas. Let's review at a very high level the AWS services that leverage this global network. The first is, of course, AWS CloudFront, which securely delivers data, videos, applications, and APIs to customers globally with low latency, high transfer speeds, and works seamlessly with AWS services such as Amazon S3, Amazon EC2, and Amazon ALB load balancer. Of course, if you have your origin elsewhere on premises or on other cloud provider, you can use them as origin for your CloudFront distribution. The second service that leverage our edge locations is Amazon Route 53, a domain name system web service designed to give developers and businesses a reliable and cost-effective way to route end users to internet applications by translating names like www.example.com to numeric IP addresses like 912.1.1.1. Note that Amazon Route 53 is fully compliant with IPv6. The third service on our list is AWS Global Accelerator. It is a networking services, right, that help improve performance and availability of your applications. Different tests show that the service can improve performance by up to 60%. So you can have your origin or your endpoint in one AWS region or in multiple AWS regions and front them by AWS Global Accelerator to improve availability and performance. Note that this service supports both TCP and UDP protocols. On the other side, we have services that we call perimeter protections. We provide a loss of service, right? We provide three main services that can help you protect your applications. The first is AWS Shield, which is a DDoS protection and mitigation service, provides free of charge on many AWS services, include CloudFront. The other service is AWS WAF, a web application firewall that helps protect your applications against APIs, your applications and APIs against common web exploits and bots that may affect availability, compromise security, and consume excessive resources. The third service is AWS Firewall Manager. Many of our customers have multiple AWS accounts. So using AWS Firewall Manager, you can centrally manage and configure your firewall rules across your different accounts and protect your application within your AWS organizations. With this being said, what is CloudFront? CloudFront is a CDN or a content delivery network. A CDN is a distributed network of edge locations or point of presence that serve content closer to the viewer. Our infrastructure is built with two architectural layers that shields your origin from direct user access. The first layer is the edge location. Requests are automatically routed to the closest POP based on the latency. If the request object is not found within the POP, it is immediately served. If it's found within the POP, it is immediately served back to the user. If it is not found there, we don't go to your origin. What we do, we try to fetch the object in the original edge cache. If it is in our original edge cache, we serve it to the user. If not, we go to the origin. As you can see, we can serve content directly from the POP or from the original edge cache. We generally call this hit from CloudFront. It means that it was hit from one of our edge locations. In case the object is not in the POP or in the rack, we fetch the object from the origin, and this is generally a miss from the edge location. For static images like for static assets like images, CSS files, video chunks for VOD or live streaming, you will want the hit rate to be as high as possible to improve performance. Internally, we use a lot of machine learning to route users to burst pops and to improve or increase the hit rate of your object within our pops. Let's take a look at some CloudFront customers and some use cases, right, for when they use CloudFront. CloudFront has been around for almost 14 years. I think it was since 2008, and it is trusted by hundreds of thousands of companies across industry. Here are some of the customers currently using CloudFront. As you can see, it goes from media entertainment to gaming, to finance, to e-commerce, to social media, and so on. I'm sure you recognize at least one logo of one of these customers. They use CloudFront for live and video on-demand streaming. We have, for example, Hulu, or even Amazon Prime Video, who use Amazon CloudFront for live and VOD. For example, English Premier League is streamed sometime on Amazon Prime Video. We also have other customers like Amazon.com, who use Amazon CloudFront for the whole site delivery. So for dynamic, static assets, they use CloudFront. Other customers use CloudFront for API acceleration. As you can see, CloudFront is not only for static content, it also helps improve performance for dynamic content. And I will come on this in a couple of slides. So we have companies like Slack who use CloudFront for API accelerations. They serve more than 5 billion requests per week. And by using CloudFront, they were able to increase or to improve the latency globally from 90 milliseconds to 15 milliseconds. That is a huge performance improvement. Another customer who use CloudFront for both static and dynamic content is Tinder. They noticed that many of their users were going away from the applications just because the latency, the application was not responsive. So they add CloudFront to the mix, and by doing so, the profile load increased by 20%. Image uploads grew by 15%, and that is huge, right? Many customers or many of their users were not uploading the images just because, or their photos, just because it was taking some time to upload. So by using CloudFront, they were able to significantly improve the number of image and also the swipers on the applications. If we talk about CloudFront on the numbers, right? We grow at a very high rate. These numbers change every week. The speed of innovation of CloudFront is one of the reasons many customers choose also CloudFront. As of today, we have more than 600,000 customers, active customers, and again, these numbers increase every day. We have more than 6 million CloudFront distributions, more than 4 million SSL certificates, and as I will say, tell in a couple of slides, you can request and use for free SSL certificates from Amazon Certificate Manager. Our infrastructure grows on a daily basis. We have new edge locations in new cities, in new countries on a monthly basis. So as I just mentioned, the speed of innovation. The last slide today will have the features we have launched this last 18 months. You will notice that most of these features, right, are based on your feedback, are based on customer feedback. We don't generally release features based on the competition. We are a company-centric obsession. We are obsessed by our customers, and we make efforts to make sure that we provide you with the features you want for your applications. So we just saw many customers who use CloudFront. Why do these customers choose CloudFront for their workloads? The first is to improve performance. Again, for each of these reasons, I will provide some details in the coming slides. The first is to improve performance. They leverage our backbone. They use some building features The second is to improve availability of the applications, also to improve security, as mentioned. Another reason is lower cost. We have many customers, for example, who use Amazon S3 to deliver the content, and they have data transfer out, they pay for data transfer out. When you use CloudFront in front of your Amazon S3 bucket or in front of any AWS resource or AWS service, you don't pay for data transfer from Amazon to CloudFront. You pay only for data transfer from CloudFront to your end user. So this significantly reduce your cost. You have many other customers who leverage CloudFront just because it works very well with other services. They are already using other services like ACM, like Certificate Manager, like Amazon S3, like Elastic Load Balancer. So it is just very easy for them to integrate CloudFront. Another reason is they can also use services like Amazon CloudTrail and Amazon CloudWatch to know exactly how the traffic to the application looks like and to track requests to the different APIs in the account. So these are some of the reasons, right, why customers choose CloudFront. The first, as I said, was performance. They want to improve performance. On the first slide, I mentioned AWS Backbone. It is paired with thousands of tier 1, 2, 3 telecom carriers globally. We have hundreds of terabytes of deployment capacity. We have more than 213 edge locations in 90 cities across 47 countries. We have 13 regional edge caches. So this backbone significantly improve performance because they are close. I mean, the edge locations are close to your users, and we also reduce the load on your origin servers. There are some building features that also help improve performance. One is TCP optimization. What we do with CloudFront, for example, we maintain persistent connection between CloudFront and your origin. It means that, let's say you are not using CloudFront, right? You have 1,000 requests to your website. Those 1,000 requests will open 1,000 TCP connection to your server. This will not only impact performance because of the TCP connection, but it will also impact, right, the load on your origin server. With persistent connection, when we receive 1,000 requests, we open a single TCP connection with your origin and serve all those connections using that TCP connections. This improves performance and also reduce the load on your server. Another TCP optimization we have, or building features, is TCP and TLS termination at the edge. So what we do with TLS, when you initiate a TLS connection with Amazon CloudFront, we terminate the TLS connection at the edge and initiate a new TLS connection between CloudFront and the origin. This not only improve performance, and it also reduce significantly the load on your origin because TLS negotiations is really CPU intensive. Another built-in feature is dynamic content placement. We have POPs in some cities like Dallas, for example. We have 3 CloudFront POPs. What we generally do is we map some CloudFront distributions to some POP so that a CloudFront distribution is assigned to a POP. This significantly improve the hit rate, or it increase the hit rate and improve performance. So these are some building features we have on CloudFront, and there are many others. We also have features you can use, right, to control the performance. You can define your caching strategy. You can, for example, define how long objects stay in the cache. You may have different behaviors. For one, you say, okay, these are CSS. I want them to be cached for maybe 24 hours. You can also have maybe logos or I don't know, or JS, and you say, okay, these files I want them to be cached for an hour. You may have dynamic contents or APIs and say I don't want to cache, so that you forward all the headers, and when we see that you forward all the headers, we know that you don't want to rewrite about our caching layers. What we do, we bypass the regional edge cache and go directly to your origin. There are also features like file compression. We support both Broadly and JZip compression, so you can enable that to serve smaller files to your viewers. We also have features like origin read timeout and keep alive timeout. So CloudFront has a lot of features that would help you improve performance and reduce the load on your origin server. So this is a performance metrics as measured by Codexis. This is a third-party performance and availability provider. So this is not Amazon. It shows that CloudFront constantly provide better performance in different countries around the world. Here we have sample United States, France, Australia, and India. So with CloudFront, as you can see, there are many other CDN providers, but use some third-party provider to know exactly how a specific CDN performs. The second item I would like to discuss is how CloudFront improve the availability of your content. Again, here, there are things we do, right, at AWS we do, and there are features you can leverage to improve availability of your application. The first is on the network side, right? Each link has automatic systems in place for traffic engineering. Large events such as live streaming, I'll take a sample of Super Bowl. Game downloads are handled automatically without user impact. On the server side, we design to drive more throughput and to scale better. For example, we are currently deploying our layer 3 and layer 4 load balancers inside our POPs. So as you can see, we have many features. We make sure that we build our POPs with the latest technologies. On the software resiliency side, we use the latest best practices for updates, affect both software and hardware, with automatic rollbacks in case of issues. When, for example, we want to update a software in a given POP, what we do, we route automatically request right to users to the next available POPs. As I said, we have 3 POPs here in Dallas. Let's say we want to update software in the 3 POPs. What we do, we start on one, and in that time, we route automatically request to the 2 next POPs. And when that is done, and we are 100% sure that the feature or the updates are complete, we resume sending traffic to that specific POPs. So all these updates are transparent from the users. On the other side, there are some features you can leverage to improve availability of your content. And these are some built-in features. One is origin failover. Here you define the primary origin and the secondary origin, and you define the failover criteria. Let's say you want, for example, to failover on 5xx errors. What we do is, if we try to fetch the content in the primary origin and get a 5xx error, we route that, the request directly to the secondary origin, and this is transparent from the viewers. Another feature you can use is lambda.h, which is one of our H functions. I will provide you with some details after this, at the end of this meeting, this presentation. So with lambda.h, you can do some sort of dynamic origin failover. We have features like retry logic or error caching. So you can choose, for example, to cache errors for 5 seconds, for 5 minutes. So it is really up to you and depending on your applications. So again, here there are some built-in features to improve availability of your web applications. We also provide some features you can use, right? You can enable or disable to improve availability of your web content. And here again, this is a performance matrix or an availability matrix from the same third-party provider Codexis. And as you can see, it shows that CloudFront constantly provide a better availability in different countries around the world. On this sample, we have US, UK, we also have Brazil and Japan. You generally say security is job zero, right? CloudFront provides a robust suite of security features that both natively built into the service and optionally configurable depending on your individual use cases and needs. For access control, we provide different features like I would say SAN URLs. We have some countries, right, or some companies who want to restrict access to their content based on the users who have paid, for example, who have paid a fee or who have signed into the website. You can configure CloudFront to require that users access your file using either SAN URLs and signed cookies or signed cookies. With SAN URLs, for example, you generate a signature and expiry time. So if the expiry time is, for example, an hour, after that hour, users won't be able, or that specific user won't be able to access your content anymore. We have other companies who want to serve content only from some countries, or block access to their content from some countries. So for that, you can leverage CloudFront geo restriction right features. Here, you create a list of countries. And if you want to allow, you allow only requests from that specific countries, or if you want to deny, you deny requests from that specific country. So CloudFront provide natively that features. You can also leverage edge functions like lambda edge or CloudFront functions. Again, I will come back on these edge functions later in the presentation. So you can also leverage edge functions to allow or block requests based, for example, on IP addresses, geolocation headers, user agents, and so on and so forth. With CloudFront, you can encrypt connection between your viewers and the edge locations, and between the edge locations and your origin. You can request and use for free SSL certificate with Amazon ACM, which is Amazon Certificate Manager. So here, there is really no need today to have a website that is accessible only on HTTP. So with Amazon CloudFront, you can request a certificate for free and use HTTPS, right, and encrypt connection to your website. Another security is, another feature is that CloudFront is really integrated with other Amazon security services. I mentioned AWS Shield, which is our DDoS mitigation and protection service. It basically protects your CloudFront distributions on layer 3 and layer 4 network layer. We also have AWS Web Application Firewall that protects your application on layer 7. So if you have a CloudFront distribution, a website, for example, or a web application, you can create some web application firewall ACLs or rules and attach them to your CloudFront distributions. CloudFront also use AWS identity and access management you can also use that service to control access to your CloudFront APIs. For example, you may want that only your security team be able to, to create CloudFront distributions or to audit CloudFront distributions. You can leverage AWS IAM for that. Another feature or reasons why customers choose CloudFront is that they want to monitor, for example, access to the applications. When you deliver content on internet, there are key metrics, right, you want to check based on the use case. Some customers want, for example, to know the locations their users come from, the number of requests to their CloudFront distributions, the number of request files, the user agents they use, the pops they hit, the hit rate, the error rate. So there are a lot of metrics that are very important to customers based on their use case. They can then create some alarm, right, based on their targets. For example, if you have a use case where you expect around between 1 million and 5 million requests per hour, you can create an alarm to notify you if the number of requests to your CloudFront distribution is less than 1 million or more than 5 millions. We have other customers, for example, who want to monitor the hit rate or even the error rate. So by analyzing CloudFront logs or CloudFront metrics, you can quickly have some alarm and take actions accordingly. So CloudFront really provides different tools for report and monitoring. A variety of reports are available to see, for you to see usage and activity of your distributions, including billing reports, caching statistics, popular objects, top referrer, and so on. CloudFront real-time logs. It is a feature that was released a few months ago. CloudFront real-time logs provide a wealth of information about what is happening on your CloudFront distribution as it serves the content. You can generate these logs in real time and have them delivered within 10 seconds to a logging platform or features like Amazon S3, Sumo Logic, Datadog, and Splunk. So this feature is very important, especially for, I'll take a sample of live streaming. I was working with a large customers. He was delivering a Super Bowl, and using CloudFront's real-time logs allow them to know exactly what is happening with the viewer, what errors, or eventually the number of requests, where the users were coming from on a close to. They were able to see that in real time. So it is very important to monitor your CloudFront distributions to know exactly how users are handling, or how your applications or your backends are handling requests for your users. So now we have some use cases, right? Where you want, for example, to perform some customization or do some sort of logic at the edge, independently from the origin. This can be because you don't have access to your origin. It can also be because you don't have tools, right, to perform those sort of customization at the edge, at the origin. Example is image optimization. For this, you can leverage Amazon CloudFront edge functions, right, which are basically CloudFront functions and Lambda edge. So we provide two types of edge functions. With CloudFront functions, you write functions in JavaScript for high scale and latency sensitive customizations. Its runtime environment offers sub-millisecond startup time and can handle millions of requests per second. Lambda Edge, on the other hand, is an extension of Lambda, which is our serverless service, and allow you to write complex functions and full application logic close to your viewers. You write functions in Node.js or Python in a single region, and AWS automatically replicates that in other regions. Here, you can use CloudFront functions on viewer events, viewer request or viewer response, and Lambda Edge, you can use it for events, right? Viewer request, viewer response, origin request, and origin response. So since these are two of our edge functions, when do you use CloudFront? When do you affect? What are the use cases, right? As I said, you can use Lambda Edge for viewer request and viewer response, but CloudFront functions currently support only viewer request and viewer response. So CloudFront functions is good for use cases like cache key normalizations. You want, for example, to transform some HTTP request attributes like URL, headers, cookies, query strings to construct a cache key in a more optimal way, leading to an improved cache hit ratio. So if you want, for example, to normalize your key to improve the cache hit ratio, you can use CloudFront functions. You can also use this for header manipulation. If you want, for example, to insert, modify, delete any HTTP headers like HSTS, like course headers, you can use CloudFront functions. Another use case is URL rewrite and redirect. This is basically redirecting users to other pages of or path in the same site or other origin servers. We see many customers using CloudFront functions, right, to create and validate a user generate token or a JSON web token. So this is, for example, for access authorization. On the other hand, use Lambda Edge for long running codes, right? Workloads that request several milliseconds to be executed. If you want, for example, to adjust the memory, if you want to use some third-party libraries, so CloudFront functions now does not support using third-party libraries or making network calls. We have some use cases where you want, for example, to get some content from Amazon S3 or from DynamoDB, handle that and save to your end users. For that, you cannot use CloudFront functions for now. You will need to use Lambda Edge. So these are the two edge functions currently available with Amazon CloudFront. So what have we released this past 18 months? I will not provide this in the details here, but as you can see, we innovate a lot. There are new features on I would say a weekly basis. And these are the most large features we released this last few months. I can maybe elaborate on cache key and origin request policies. This basically adds enhanced granularity on your cache key construction and request metadata that you want to forward to your origin. Customers can now implement better cache control key, like forwarding the auth headers to origin or user agent to origins without adding that to the cache key, and this significantly increase the hit rates. As I mentioned, real-time logs, where you have logs delivered within 10 seconds. There are many other features like, I would say, native broadly compression. Before that, we were supporting only JZ compression, but we add support for broadly compressions, and we released also CloudFront functions a few months ago. So with this, I will hand over to our team for the demo. Thank you.
Thank you, Jibril. Will you hand over the thingy? Okay. 1 second, please. Yeah, so name is Artem, Senior Cloud Architect. Nothing interesting, so let's talk about the important stuff. So many of our customers are running on AWS, utilize CloudFront for different scenarios. So some for optimizing their costs, some for improving the delivery time, but sometimes we faced with the interesting use cases from our customers, like for example, this one I'm going to share with you today. So I was talking to a customer like nearly 7-8 months ago, and they were coming with an interesting problem. They were saying, okay, we are running multiple Kubernetes clusters in different regions, and we are serving our end customers across the globe, and we are starting to face the data residency restrictions. So if you look at the slide, you will see their original architecture diagram. So basically what they were doing, they had their clusters, so their Kubernetes clusters with the replicated infrastructure in different regions in United States, in Europe, and in Asia. And at that time, they were doing business in a quite simple way, saying, okay, whenever we have user, let's say their user, not the end customer, logging in, we just utilize Amazon Route 53. We realize where is the location of this user, and we send them to the closest cluster. The problem is that in this case, they would need to replicate the login system, and they need to build their own routing system in order to route the customers, like the users, from different geographies when they're not in their home region. So for example, if the company is registered in US, as you can see on the slide, for example, we have European users who are currently, or users who work for European company, currently located in the United States. And because they're currently located in the United States, they would be routed to US East 1 region to their cluster. And basically that leads to many problems with like, okay, we need to replicate the login service. We need to build somehow the connection between different clusters and make sure that we don't expose the data and we stay within the boundaries of different local regulations. And they were looking for a solution. So basically this is how like I got to meet this customer. They wanted to solve this problem. So what we were doing with them, we said, okay, dear customer, just the simplest way to do it is let's first replace your login page and add another yet step. So basically before customers or like users of the customer can log in, they need to provide the domain name or the name of the company they're working for. And basically then host the service inside the Kubernetes clusters in all of them, where you store the mapping for the company names and the geographies they belong to. And then we introduce CloudFront in front of all your Kubernetes cluster setup, or in this case, it was Amazon EKS, and basically use CloudFront to basically route the users by the fastest route to the AWS network, and basically then utilize CloudFront to route them to the right location. So basically when users or people working for European-based company are located in the US, they're hitting the edge location in the United States, But because they explicitly say that they're working for a European customer, then they immediately end up in Amazon network, and they can achieve or reach their target Kubernetes cluster in Europe much faster. So the funny thing about this is that how simple the setup was. So it's not that complicated, though it sounds like pretty complicated. Obviously, in the AWS console, what you need to do, imagine like you have like multiple Kubernetes clusters. For me, like for this demo, I didn't set up the entire thing with 8 different regions. I just set up few regions, but in few regions, I have like EKS clusters based on a couple of EC2 instances. And obviously I have like a load balancer in front, but then the only thing I need to set up, please, CloudFront, yes, as I need to set up a distribution for the CloudFront where I need to configure 2 different regions, which are 2 different load balancers in 2 different regions in my setup. One is in US East 1 and one is in EU West 1, so basically like North Virginia and Ireland. And basically then I needed to define behavior. So I'm saying that by default, if we don't know where customers belong to, we route them to the load balancer located in United States. If we see in the path /US, then again, we route them to US. And if we see the EU in the path, we route them to European cluster. And basically then one more little change on the side of Kubernetes. I need to create another yet ingress controller. So basically the main ingress controller is responsible for the traffic coming directly to the load balancer. But for another one, we just create the ingress controller with the host, which represents the URL of CloudFront distribution. And basically then we do the rewrite. So whatever is coming after the /EU or /US, if you would look in the United States cluster, is just getting rewritten like it was just a slash. So basically in this case, we don't break all the microservice configuration the customer had in the cluster. So just on the login page, by specifying the company and checking out the mapping, which company is it, where is it located, and rewriting the path, we immediately can route the customer to the right location, and basically with a few clicks within 5 minutes to configure the complete rerouting. And basically the funny thing is that this is a simple application I got deployed called the Stance Robot Shop. It's the demo app from one of our customers called Instana, who is building the observability tools for microservices environment. And basically we are going to take a look how does this thing work. So I have here like the disable cache, obviously. So, and if we imagine that we are logging into the EU, we have our first login. So basically when nothing is pre-warmed, and then we're doing the next login, and we're kind of like within 3 to 100 seconds, we are able to load everything we need. And more we are caching, more faster it's becoming. But the interesting thing is that me right now, so I'm based in Berlin, so I'm located in Europe, in Germany, and I have the closest location of CloudFront in Hamburg. So basically it's one of the latest POPs which were deployed in Germany. So it's like about 2 hours train to Hamburg. But if I would work for a United States company and I would log into US, like the first login, as you can see, is taking like a little bit longer. But then with some reloads, we can see that whenever everything got cached on the edge, I basically can see the same numbers as I would see if I would be routed directly to the European cluster. and basically more and more new stuff I would upload. And if I go to even like the APIs and other stuff, so basically just the fact that I'm using the closest edge location and I'm utilizing all the features of CloudFront, like keeping TCP connections between edge and the region, I can improve the performance of my like web applications dramatically. So this is just like one of the things customers are using CloudFront for, instead of just doing the rewrites with DNS and doing the global rerouting. They just utilize CloudFront, and it's just one of the applications, because other than that, we were doing multiple different things. Like we were doing it on the setting up different headers. We were doing it like in many different ways, but still just introducing CloudFront, it's not only reducing the price for the data transfer out, but also provide you with more flexibility in configuring your application routing and just building it in a better way. And basically with this one, that's all I wanted to show. And we are happy to look into your questions and provide answers.
So thank you, Artyom, and thank you so much, Jibril. Now it's time for some selected questions from the audience. So our time is a little bit short, as I can tell. So you know what? We'll keep it short. But for any additional questions, or if your question was not selected, so please send us a note, drop us a line, allowing us to provide with all the information and the right attention. So I'll start with the first question from the chat. Jibril, this one is for you. What is the main difference between CloudFront functions and Lambda at the edge? When should I choose one or the other? Jibril.
Cool. Yeah, that is a very good question, right? Choosing between one or the other depends really on the use case. CloudFront functions, as I said, support only viewer events, right? Viewer response and viewer request. So if you have a use case where you need like origin events, you will need to use Lambda Edge. If you have Lambda Edge, as I said, also support viewer events. So if, for example, you want to leverage external libraries. If you want, for example, to do some network calls, you will need to use CloudFront functions for Lambda Edge for that, because currently CloudFront does not support network calls and including or using third-party libraries. So CloudFront functions is really for I mean, I would say like use cases, right? When you want to do some sort of header manipulations, of cache key normalizations, if you want to do URL write or redirect. So using CloudFront will significantly provide better performance, and it is also way cheaper than using Lambda Edge. So these are some things you can take into consideration when choosing between Lambda Edge and CloudFront functions.
Perfect, Jibril. Thank you so much. And Artyom, I'll direct the next question to you. Does CloudFront cache post responses?
Short answer is no. And the long answer is that CloudFront does not cache post, put, delete, and patch requests. And for options, you can configure it optionally. So, like, you know, Calambur options optionally, you can configure CloudFront to cache it, but no, post requests are not cached.
All right, so the answer is no, I guess. And Jibril, the next one is for you. How does CloudFront improve performance for dynamic content?
Yeah, that is, again, a very good question, right? We have many customers who think that CDNs are just for static content, that we leverage the edge locations to cache content. But no, we notice that many customers use CloudFront for dynamic content and for API accelerations. There are some built-in features that help improve performance for dynamic content. Example is TLS termination or negotiation termination at the edge. Another is, for example, maintaining persistent connections. When you use a CDN like CloudFront, we maintain a persistent connection between CloudFront and your origin. So if you receive around, I would say, 1,000 requests to your origin, let's say within 5 seconds, we open a single TCP connection with your origin and serve all those 1000 requests directly using that single TCP connection. This not only improves performance, but it significantly reduces the load on your origin server. Another advantage is using the backbone. I mentioned that the AWS global network is built under like hundreds of gigs of fibers, right, across continents. So when you use CloudFront, you hit our network close to you, right? You are here in Dallas, for example, you hit one of our POPs here in Dallas, and you use the AWS backbone from Dallas to your origin, and this does not traverse the public internet, and we know that the public internet is not predictable, and with our backbone we control that. We know exactly how to better route traffic from the edge location to your origin. So these are some small features or built-in features that help improve performance for dynamic content.
Appreciate the answer. Thank you so much, Gabriel. Artyom, you're up next. Why should I choose the CloudFront instead of Cloudflare solution?
That's a typical holy war. Yeah, it's typical holy war. What should they choose? Should they go to Google? Should they go to AWS? Should they go to CloudFront or Akamai, whatever? So basically, the simple answer is that obviously, like when you choose something, it's all about like the criteria you're using, like which you're basing your decision on. But normally, like when you are trying to decide between like CloudFront and another provider of the CDN, like the main thing which immediately comes into the picture is like data transfer out. So basically, if you use the external provider for your CDN, sorry, you are paying data transfer out for your content from AWS to a third-party provider. And the data transfer out from your AWS infrastructure to Amazon CloudFront is nearly for free. If like there are some like implications when you do the multi-region setup, but mostly it's for free. So basically, that's the first thing. You're saving a lot of money on the egress cost. And the second thing, which is most appealing to me, is the same experience. So basically, you don't need to learn another tool. You don't need to spend time. So for example, if you have a complicated setup and something went wrong, or you misconfigured something, or you deployed the broken Terraform script and something went nuts. So basically, your engineers don't need to jump on different calls with many solution providers to figure out what is happening. It's still within the same scope. It's still within AWS, and basically AWS can help you just with everything, or like DoiT can help you with everything if you work with DoiT. So basically, it's just like integrity within the platform and the cost, and of course the features and performance. So if you looked at the presentation like carefully, Gabriel showed the numbers. Like CloudFront is definitely beating like many offerings on the market, and it's a really great tool to use.
Thank you, Artyom. I think we have to come up with the last question. Now we're running out of time. So Gabriel, you are next, and also our final question for today. Does CloudFront provide bot management?
Yeah, another good question, right? Bot management is really an issue with a lot of web applications. Yes, CloudFront, I will not say CloudFront, we have a web application firewall, AWS WAF, that provides a bot management rule. With AWS WAF, you have manage rules from AWS or from third-party marketplace, or you can also write your own custom rules. So in the AWS managed rules, we provide a bot management rule, and you can just in a couple of clicks, you can add that bot management feature or web manage rule to your web ACL and associate it to your CloudFront distribution. So when you do that in AWS WAF console, you have a clear overview of, for example, the bot activity of on your application, on your web application. You have, for example, the number of good bots, of bad bots, of bots that were mitigated, that were blocked, all that in a single console. And you can write some custom rules, right, to allow some bots that you think are good bots, or to block some bots that were allowed by default. So yes, the short answer is yes. AWS WAF provide that bot mitigation and management feature. Yeah, you can just create a web ACL, attach that managed role, and associate it to your CloudFront distribution.
Perfect. So I think we can end the webinar for us today. So thank you everyone for your time and for joining us. And thank you so much, Artem and Jibril, for leading the content aspect for the time today. Stay tuned for upcoming webinars and follow our YouTube channel. And until the next time that we meet, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.